Well, what is going on, gang? Welcome back to Therapeutic Gadgets. Very nice to have you here today. Um, Knives are expensive. Cheap knives are still cheap. You can go to the gas station and spend $30 and buy a piece of crap that'll might open, might not, might lock up, might not. If you've been watching Metal Complex, he's been buying knives in bulk so that he can make fun of them and destroy them, and I don't blame him at all. The stuff that he's been getting is destroyable. But a knife is an important tool to many people, and the truth is that folks can't often afford $2, $3, $4, $5, $6,000 on a knife. And if they're not careful, they're going to get that stuff that you can buy by weight, and it's worth about that too. Kershaw used to be my go-to for knives. I had 100 of them over the years probably, and Gerber. Big 5 was my go-to for camping, or Walmart. I pick something up for the trip, carry it for 6 months or for the season, and then lose it or break it or have to get another one. My knife tastes have changed. But the need for a knife hasn't, and it got me thinking, who's making good knives that don't break the bank? Well, Metal Complex has been covering Migaron's D2 and aluminum knives, and I had not even been thinking about them. I've had a couple of his 14C knives that I really like, but those are $50, $60. But now he's got a whole run of knives that cost, $25, $30? What are these things? Yeah, below $30. Now, there's going to be some shipping and whatever, but so I bought 3 of them just to see what you can get. Now, the first thing I do want to say is that I don't read specs for stuff like this, and I should have. They're smaller than I thought they would be, but the one that really stood out to me, the one I liked the best, so I'm reviewing it first, or at least looking at it first, is the Norsa. Now, this is $29. Where's Norsa? Norsa is $29.95, so it's just below $30. I have on the table with me for sort of a comparison piece. This is the Kershaw Kindred, and these knives are very similar. One's a button lock, one is a bar style lock, but they're both aluminum and D2, and you get a lot of the same features. The difference is this is $51 and this is $29.95. And you guys know I have a relationship with Sam. I like the guy quite a bit, but at this price point, I'm not going to do him any favors. He didn't send these to me. I bought them because I was curious. Would I recommend them to someone who's on a really tight budget? And well, for this, the answer is absolutely yes. I do like the Kindred here. I don't like that it's almost $52. So let's put that away and take a look at what you get on the Norsa. First, you get a really lovely D2 blade. It's PVD coated. The aluminum is also PVD, I believe. There are steel liners on the inside. Now, the steel has been milled out for some weight savings, which is nice. You get a really nice deep carry clip, including countersunk screws that disappear. Sam knows what he's doing. They're Axis locks, Axis style lock. Very good, right? This has got lots of belly. It's pokey if you need it to be. For $30, this is a really nice little knife. Little is an important word. It's going to come up a lot with these. Now, I did reach out to Sam after I bought them. He was funny. He said, well, I can send you some. I said, no. I want to know, if I was to spend my $30, would I feel like I got my money's worth? And I did, and I do. So let's take a look at what you get for your $29.95. You get almost 2 3/4 inches of cutting on just at 3 inches of Sam's D2. Now, his D2 is HRC between 58 and 60, which is, kind of the sweet spot for folding knives in D2. Because it's PVD coated, the fact that D2 is semi-stainless is going to make less of an issue out of it. D2 is not stainless. If you own D2 and you live on a coastal city or in marshes or swamps, you're going to know. D2 rusts pretty easy. PVD is going to help with that. And Sam's PVD, for whatever it's worth, is pretty durable stuff. I've had good luck with it. You might too. Underneath the PVD is a sandblasted blade. There's no texture that you can feel, but it does give the PVD something to stick to, I think, which is nice. Thumb studs are well-shaped and very functional. There's a little bit of chimping right there on the blade. I don't know why. No one's going to put their thumb there. What it does have is just before this swedge, it's got this beautiful cutout right here where my thumb lands every time. The handle itself is, my pinky falls off just a little bit because it's a relatively neutral shape, and they clip that edge off just a little bit right there. It is a comfortable shape. This is a nice little knife. Anyway, so 3 inches of that D2 steel. Now, I can hear you. D2, oh my God. Look, when I started collecting seriously 5 or 6 years ago, the budget blade of choice was 8CR13 MOV. Everything was 8CR13 MOV. It was sort of swinging in on the heels of when everything was cheap D2. Now, oh, excuse me. Now, of course, you guys are going to have to forgive me. I was sick a while back, and the one thing that has not recovered yet is my voice entirely. Anyway, now you can get knives in the $100 range in every kind of blade steel imaginable. But that wasn't always the case. Your choices were D2 or 8CR, basically. Or if you wanted to get into the really cheap Gerber stuff, there was 5CR and 6 anyway. But D2 is a good blade steel when it's done correctly. Right now, there's an argument going on between MC and Migaron about the heat treat on their M390. Metal Complex feels it's a little low. And based on the numbers, he's probably not wrong. But this D2 is right where it's supposed to be. Now, of course, I can hear you ask, should we trust that he's hitting his HRCs where he says he is? My answer to that is this. If he was going to lie about his HRC, he would not do it on D2. He would do it on his M390 and tell you that he's hitting those higher HRC numbers like everyone is asking for, but he doesn't. So I have come to trust Migaron knives over the years. You don't have to, but you can if you want. And for $30, you're getting a nice little knife. All right, let's get the rest of the specs out of the way. I'm done ranting. The overall knife is 7 and an eighth. Grip area is 3 1/4. As you guys know, that's a little short for my hands. And yet, again, it's nicely comfortable. There's a nice sharpening choil right here on this knife. There is plenty of room to sharpen before you're going to run into it. It does put your finger a little far back from the cutting edge, and you don't want to come up here. It's just something to think about. The Kindred here also has a nice sharpening choil, but you can you're a little closer to the blade. That matters to some people. I suppose it depends on what kind of cutting you're doing. Now, the nice thing about the Norsa here is I love that kind of belly shape. Right? I do. I love that sort of blade shape. It has repeatedly shown itself to me over the years to be what I prefer to use in my sort of everyday tasks. Now, don't get me wrong. I carry funky blade shapes that I really enjoy, but on a day-to-day, this works really well. You can get down on the board with this. In other words, if you don't want to use D2 in the kitchen a lot, it'll take color. I have a number of camping knives that are varying shades of red and brown because I cut up very spicy sausage and did not clean the blade right away. Anyway, action on this is really good. It bounces a little if you're not careful, but it's very nice. As I said, the deep carry clip is really good. The closed length on the Norsa coming in at 4 1/16. In the pocket profile is really nice. You're looking at a little over 1 1/4 inches right through here, but because it's a relatively small knife, it just disappears in the pocket. And again, the stamped steel clip, plenty of room in and out of the pocket, right? The build on this is really simple. It's got a little blade stop right here and a larger blade stop here. It's very nice. It's running on bearings. I do want to say, one, the aluminum handle is likely to take some damage over time. Aluminum shows scratches fairly easily, and the PVD coating on this is nice, but it's not going to stop that from happening. The other thing is that because, how do I not have a flashlight? Anyway, there, you can see. The steel liners are milled out really nicely for weight savings, but that also means that there is plenty of room in there to catch oil and crap between the scales and the liners. Just know that you're going to get crap in this knife. And that's true of just about everything. Aluminum scales require, interesting, these, so as you see here, these are just steel liners. I take that back. On the Kindred here, these are just slabs of aluminum, which makes this pretty good. It does mean that they had to put little steel inserts in the back that hold the pocket clip in place, because if you screw hardened steel screws into aluminum, you can damage it. So they had to put liners in to catch, but yeah, it's pretty nice. Anyway, yeah, I don't really have that much more to say. I got a couple of more of these. They get ever smaller, but whatever. The Norsa is my favorite of the really budget-friendly knives that I ordered myself from Migaron. My job is not to sell you knives. I've talked about this many times. My job is to share the knives that I like, that I find interesting, and if you choose to watch, that's awesome. I'm always glad to have you here. But recently somebody told me that a lot of their knife purchases over the last few years kind of came from my channel. And that got me thinking. I don't owe anybody anything. However, it does fall on me to do this responsibly then. And I realized that the responsible thing is to periodically, and I'm not going to do this a lot because what am I going to do with this now? I'm going to give it to somebody that I know locally that needs a good knife is what I'm going to do. Periodically, I'm going to go out and see if I can find stuff that is not this or this or whatever, and bring you guys stuff that, well, excuse me, that appeals to me both in its look and in its feel, that just lives at a price point that everybody can afford. And I hope that's cool. Again, I'm not trying to sell you a knife. I'm not. I don't have links that earn me money. Well, that's not true, actually. I have one. That's for off-grid. Anyway, I don't use that very much. But it does fall to me to maybe be a little more diverse in what I offer you guys to look at, so that people that can't afford the ridiculously expensive stuff that I tend to lean into these days can have cool stuff too. This is cool stuff. This is the Miguron Norsa. Let's weigh it. And see what it comes in at. The Norsa weighs in at 3.4 ounces. Well, for about a 3-inch blade, that's not too bad. By way of comparison, the Kindred here is 2.7. So it's a little lighter because it doesn't have steel liners. Sam gives you 3.25 millimeters of that D2 steel, which is pretty good. And before we wrap, let's do some size comparisons just for giggles. This is one of my favorites from a while back. This, of course, is the full tie and S90V edition of the CJRB Pyrite. This is a budget knife made not budget. But as you can see, The Norsa and the Pyrite are very similar in overall dimensions. Another knife that is not too big is the Hogue Deca. A little bit bigger, but not much. Of course, the Deca is, this is a Magna Cut blade. These are 150 as opposed to 30. What else do we have on the table? And then, of course, the classic overpriced, inexpensive knife, the Bug Out. As you can see, the Norsa is smaller than those. By far the closest size comparison, here's one that's a little less expensive. Cutting edge and handle size and everything is going to be the Pyrite. So if you've got a Pyrite or you know somebody who's got one, that's a really close comparison. The difference is these are 40 or 50, and then, of course, this one's, I think, a couple of $100, $29.95. I don't think you can go wrong. Anyway, thanks for watching. Remember to take care of yourselves and take care of each other. I'll put a link in the description to Sam's website. It's just a link. You can go find it for yourself if you want. But I'll put one there for you if you're interested. The Norsa is a attractive, well-made, inexpensive little pocket knife, and I think it's cool. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.